We had a bit of an interesting patch notes last week, but I think this one should solve a lot of those issues, but I'm hoping a lot of the underplayed champions get a bit buffed more because there are a lot of synergies in this set so far that haven't really quite seen the meta yet. So let's just get right into the summary. For buffs, we have Shurima, Demacia, and Gunnar, so I'm really excited about both Shurima and Demacia being buffed. For example, we have not seen like a 7 Demacia comp really dominate or anything like that, or even be remotely close to playable. The closest thing we had was like a Garen reroll from before, but that was really just for one patch. For the units, we have Orianna, Galio, Kled, Garen, Kalista, Vel'Koz, Aphelios, Shen, Yasuo, and Aatrox all getting buffs. So we might see Ionia come back into play, we might see Challengers come back into play, and of course Aphelios going to be maybe the main AD person right now, and they also buffed 10 other augments. Nerfs, they have Darkin, Redeemer, 5 augments, Samira, Swain, Lux, Urgot, Zeri, Ahri, Bel'Veth, and Sion. I think these all make sense on paper so far. Let's see how they actually made the changes though. Adjusting Multicaster, Zon, Shadow Owl, Ashe, Teemo, 3 augments, Kayle, Ryze, and then reworking Technogenius and Shimmering Inventors. So I will go over what I think about all the changes at the very end, because it's not fair to judge things just on one change. You have to kind of consider things as a whole. But onto the system changes we have on the Raptors. Your final item component from Raptors will be replaced by a component anvil. So now we won't have like dead items anymore. So that's pretty cool. It means you should probably slam items a little earlier on in stage 4. Sometimes in stage 4 you greed and you're like, oh, let me wait till stage 5 just in case I get something really juicy. But now since you could always get something good from the anvil, you probably should just slam items in stage 4 now. I think that's what that's going to change. Region portals, Yordle portals has been moved to Noxus and renamed Fleshing Arena. Hall of the Nine significantly reduced the gold given. Yeah, Kayle was really good on Hall of the Nine because of this, but they're changing that, so that's good. Hall of the Nine 2-star unit loot options now give units whose tier is equal to the stage -1 rather than equal to the stage. And then Unstable Rift has had blue buff temporarily disabled from appearing as the unstable item while we investigate a bug. Yeah, those are all fair. Hall of the Nine was a little too wacky for me, but a lot of people like it just because it was like super fun because wacky stuff happened. It depends on what type of player you are. So onto the large changes. So first off, Demacia elite count is being changed from 1235 to 1246. So even 7 and 9 Demacia, they get bonus Demacia units. That should be a little crazy. They're also getting their armor and MR changed. At 5 Demacia, it's being buffed. At 7, it's being nerfed. And at 9, it's being nerfed as well to compensate for the elite count. And then Gunner AD per stack is going to be buffed up at 4 Gunner and 6 Gunner. So they're really leaning more into the 4 and 6 Gunner, not so much the 2 Gunner, which has been the more popular version so far. Multicaster's damage reduction is being increased by 60 to 66%. Sona Crescendo bonus AS is going to be increased at all levels. Talia Seismic Shove is going to be increased as all levels as well. And then Teemo Noxus trap damage is going to be increased. So they're buffing a lot of the multicasters right now. Multicasters, they are only good in like the double trouble comp with Talia. So I'm glad that they're kind of trying to make all of them work in their own right. Vel'Koz plasma fission damage is also being buffed. Shadow Owl mana regen is going to be buffed at 2 Shadow Owl, but nerfed at 6. Yeah, 6 was really powerful. If you ever had like a +1 Shadow Owl, that was going to be really powerful, but they're going to be nerfing that a little bit, but also buffing up 2 Shadow Owl to kind of make up for it. The shield is going to have the same pattern as well, 2 being buffed, 6 being nerfed, and then now onto Shurima. So Shurima, probably one of the cooler comps in my opinion. The Ascension bonus health is going to be increased by 3%. Shurima 7 Ascension bonus is going to be increased by 5% as well. I honestly think this is enough without even changing any of the other units, because I think Shurima, they just need like a little bit of a push, nothing too crazy. I don't want them being too OP, that way everyone plays them, and then I can't enjoy playing them. So I think just like a tiny bump might be enough. Zon Adaptive Implant AD, AP, and Omnivamp is being buffed from 25% to 30%. Robotic Arm proc chance is being reduced by 10%, and then Unstable Chem Tank Overcharge Health Explosion. This one was so stupid when you had 6 Zon and you have like a Zon emblem on a Jarvan. It exploded way too much. So yeah, this one's being nerfed. Hextech Exoskeleton Max Health Healed is being increased by 2%, and then Exoskeleton now also cleanses all debuffs, including Burn, Wound, Shred, Sunder, and Mana Reave. Honestly, I thought it already did that, but it must have only cleansed other stuff instead. Maybe just crowd control before. Hextech Exoskeleton Overcharge damage no longer triggers when Sion revives. Okay, pretty good changes there. Robotic Arm was way too good with Jinx. you just stabilize way too hard with Jinx. I thought adaptive was always fine, but I'm sure they have their reasons for this. But we have to see how Zeri got nerfed, because obviously Gunnar's got buffed before, so obviously they're going to be making a few changes to the Zon comps later on. So tier 1, Kayle Divine Ascent based on hit damage is going to be increased at 1 star, 2 star, and 3 star, and then the wave damage is going to be reduced. So let's see what they wrote here. We're adjusting Kayle to make her more playable unit in stage 2, even if not rerolling her, but reducing her cap since her reroll comp has ascended too far. Yeah, that's fair enough. Orianna now resumes attacking more quickly after casting Command Protect. I think that's a good change as well. I did notice her damage did feel a little bit delayed. Samira AD ratio is going to be increased from 175 to 200, 200, and 210, but the armor reduction is going to be reduced a lot, and Samira Flare can no longer reduce armor to 0. So due to how the resistance work, Samira's armor reduction let her scale very well into the late game, and we're pulling out the armor reduction and putting it into the base spell so that she could have a good single carry unit with some utility without completely negating tanks. Yeah, that's completely fair. Whether she's going to be good or not, the armor nerfs are a lot. It's pretty much like 10's a lot of armor. It depends on who you're attacking, obviously, because the less they have, like, the more percentage-wise it reduces at least. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens to the other Noxus units to really confirm that. Tier 2 Ashe getting a buff. They keep buffing Ashe. Oh, mana nerf, finally. I was about to say, this can't be like the 10th patch that they buff the Ashe, but they are buffing her attack speed, nerfing her mana, and then the volley AD ratio is being buffed as well. So I think overall it's probably going to be a buff. It's just nerfing her utility, increasing her damage, which is fair. Galio Shield of Durand is going to be bumped up a little bit for the reduction. Kled, more stacking AS, Swain, mana nerf. Swain Demon Flare transform health is going to be reduced by actually quite a bit. So Swain might not be the best tank anymore. But at 2 costs, the tanks aren't really like that great. Swain was kind of the best just because he was the only good one. Swain is now classified as a magic tank in the inspect panel. Talia's seismic shove damage is being buffed up by quite a bit, and then Teemo Noxus trap damage buffed, and then Noxus trap multicast mushroom bounce logic reverted to 13.14. Mushrooms will now bounce to a random target after the first one. Did they list these changes twice by accident? Yeah, for some reason the traits had all the multicasters, but that's all good. We'll go into the next one, which is the units tier 3. Garen Judgment AD percent is going to be increased at 1 and 2 star, so they're keeping 3 star the same, which is good because I feel like his 3 star was already all right. So they're not going to be like over buffing him and then everyone goes Garen reroll, especially with the other Demacia buffs. You don't want to go too overboard. Callista Pierce and Ren spear damage is going to be increased a little bit. Interesting. I thought Callista was already pretty solid, but I might be playing more Callista now. Sona Crescendo bonus AS is going to be bumped up by 5. Vel'Koz, we already went through those changes before. And then onto the units tier 4. Shen is really tanky with Ionia active, but not great outside of that. Agreed, but I still think he's decent outside of it. But the Ionia, yeah, Ionia is just a really good trade. It's incredible. Aphelios increased the speed of Moonlight Sigil's Moonblast, and then the Chakram AD ratio is going to be bumped up at 1 and 2 star. I believe they nerfed it to this point like a long time ago, and then now they're buffing it back. I think that's kind of like the history of Aphelios. Maybe I'm misremembering. But Lux Torn of the Light can no longer reduce magic resist below 0. Torn of the Light now turns faster while casting her ability. Okay, pretty solid change. Make it consistent with Samira, but then also give her like a little quality of life thing there. Shen Ionia bonus damage reduction is being changed from 10% to 9%. And then the self-shield amount is going to be buffed up by 50 to kind of compensate for that. And Shen is now slightly larger. Not sure what that does, to be honest. Yasuo last breath range no longer scales with attack range. Okay, so no more RFC building. That's weird. I know it's kind of like annoying sometimes when Yasuo just nukes your backliner and there's nothing you can do much against it, but I thought the interaction was kind of cool. So I guess it's just like 2 or 3 squares now, just like can't reach all the way to the back anymore. Yasuo health is going to be bumped up by 50. Last breath AD ratio. They're actually buffing the AD ratio. Look at this. Your AD gives 500 damage or 500% scaling. So if you build Deathblade on Yasuo, he's just going to be nuking everyone. It's actually incredible. AP ratio is going to be buffed up a little bit as well. So they're giving them a little bit of damage buff, a little bit of health buff to kind of compensate for this. Honestly, RFC data-wise, it didn't do like that well. But when it did, it's really annoying. So I could see why they nerfed it. Let's see what they wrote here. Yasuo has a problem with reliance on a certain something. I'm not referring to his preference in drink. Also problematic. I'm instead referring to his reliance on rapid fire cannon to allow his spells to hit backliners. Yeah, normally you need to get 2 casts off. So you cast once first, it hits someone in the front line, and then the second cast goes to the back line. But I'm pretty sure data-wise, at least when I've been checking throughout the set, it didn't seem like by far the best item by any means, but it could be seen as annoying. I did get like killed by it once, and I was like, oh, come on, what could I have done? So I like overall, probably a good thing. Urgot Disdain shield amount is going to be reduced a little bit. AD ratio going to be reduced as well. Yeah, Urgot was completely broken last patch. Still should be solid. We'll have to see how Zeri's change. Okay, there's Zeri. Surge duration reduced by a second, and then Chain Lightning AD ratio reduced by 5%. It's actually pretty big considering like she gets a lot of attacks off a lot of times, and Gunner AD, you have so much AD that this ratio being changed by even a little bit means quite a bit. Is Zon Gunners going to still be a thing? I don't know. There depends how. Some other things got buffed too, right? So we'll have to kind of keep an eye on that. I'll read through all the changes first. Aatrox World Ender duration is being buffed up by 2 seconds. Darken health being reduced. Aatrox is now immune to damage and untargetable when respawning. Ahri Essence Thief Mana Reave is being reduced by 10%. Damage is being reduced as well. Okay, so no goodbye to Ahri comps. Essence Thief wave damage is going to be reduced a bit. So Ahri, she's always going to be the highest damage legendary unit. With this nerf, maybe fast 9ing is going to be a lot worse now, because she already barely one-taps everyone at 2-star, at least from what I've been seeing. And this nerf, 375 to 350, it could be the difference between one-tapping everyone and leaving everyone at 1 health, which obviously is a humongous difference. So I think this actually gets a lot worse. Bel'Veth Maelstrom bonus damage per strike is being nerfed a little bit. A number of strikes is going to be 6 per 100%, and it's going to be changed to 6 plus 5 per 100% bonus AS. So definitely big nerfs to Bel'Veth. Was she that strong? I think Bel'Veth alone isn't good, but with any emblem, like pretty much anything, Bel'Veth just becomes insane strong. So it's more of like a win more type of champion, in my opinion. Heimerdinger Technogenius Repair-O-Matic reworked. Repair duration is now a flat 7 seconds at all levels. And then Repair-O-Matic stacking multiple copies now grants Apex Turret bonus armor and MR. That's a pretty good way to approach it. I think this is going to be pretty decent then. Yeah, because like obviously when the seconds reduced every time you upgraded, you always wanted to go like all in or nothing. But maybe now, like getting a point in maybe everything, like 1 Repair-O-Matic, 1 shred, 1 burn, could be a viable build. I hope it is. Heimerdinger Technogenius Mechanoswarm rockets fired is being changed from 7 to 5. Rise Bandle City will now star up hold units to at least Rise's star level. That's a cool change. Ionia Rise mana buff damage being nerfed at 3-star. Okay, who hit Rise 3-star to cause them to nerf this? Because yeah, I don't know. I feel like it'll just kill everything anyways, right? Ionia Rise heal is going to be nerfed at 2-star. Piltover Rise % damage share with Enforcer Zone is going to be buffed at 2-star. Targon Rise starting mana buff. Targon Rise max % health damage is going to be increased a little bit at 2-star. So they're buffing a lot of the 2-star rises. Zon mana nerf. Senna Redeemer attack speed per shield is going to be changed from 8% to 6%. Ooh, that's actually pretty big. I always thought Senna was like actually insane OP, but I wasn't sure if it was because I was only running it in Zeri. I run it sometimes in random comps. She's still pretty solid, but obviously in Zeri, she's going to be absolutely incredible. Scion Glory in Death animation max health % decay per second is going to be 15 to 20, 10 to 13, and then 3-star no decay. That's pretty big nerf. I think this is essentially like 6 seconds to 5 seconds at 1-star Scion. He's probably still going to be the best tank at 5 cost, just because he's literally just AoE CC unit, tank unit, compared to Cassante. Probably still going to be a little bit better, but maybe now he's not auto fit on every single board imaginable. Onto the augments, Ascension damage amp is being bumped up by 5. Challenger Crown now grants Hand of Justice instead of Rapid Fire Cannon. Dueling Gunner's initial attack speed being buffed up. Ooh, that's interesting. Endless Horde gold being changed from 8 to 6, and then they're adding Endless Horde Plus at 4-2, which gives 9 gold. So is the difference just 3 gold between these 2 stages? I guess that makes sense. Frequent Flyer rolls required is being changed from 10 to 8. Haunted Shell, stacking resistances being buffed up a little bit. Late game specialist can no longer be offered with level up and vice versa. Okay, very nice. Mana burn has been re-enabled. Oh no. Parting Gift Shield is now added after the item is granted rather than before. Perfected Repetition, multicaster AP per cast being buffed up by 1. Perfected Repetition, multicaster max AP 70 to 90. Portable Forge Armory is being changed from 3 choices to 2, 3, 4 based on stage. That's going to be a lot weaker. Did they change any of the items? I don't think they did. Riftwalk ability power per cast is being changed from 35 to 32. Ooh, that's a pretty sizable nerf. I don't know if they needed to nerf Kassadin though. Was he really that strong? I thought he was like pretty average, like nothing crazy, nothing bad. I thought he was actually in a good spot. Return on investment rolls required is being changed from 22 to 20. Maybe this one could be used now. You have to just take it in super specific situations. Maybe it's worth it now. It pays to learn 1, 2, 3. Gold is being nerfed a little bit at all levels. And then the XP is unchanged. Really? They needed to nerf this? With the Ari nerfs, I don't think you need to nerf this, but I could be wrong. Rework Shimmering Inventor's Piltover units bonus per 10 gold is being changed from 10 AS to 8 AS. Inventor's max bonus at 50 gold is being changed from 50 to 40. Shurima's Legacy Sun Disc is being nerfed. Thank God. Yeah, they have to nerf this. This one's way too good, especially with all the Shurima buffs going on right now. It makes the comp just better, which makes the augment better. The boss ASAP per sit-up 40 to 45. Boss now cleanses wound. And then 2 healthy being buffed back up. What the Forge, you're now slightly less likely to get multiple copies of the same item, especially Obsidian Cleaver. And that's going to be the augments. So very, very interesting because like the multicasters, they're getting buffed up a ton. And then they changed 2 healthy back. So are we back into like multicasters being really good now? Artifacts and Shimmer Scale items, Draven's Axe cash out gold is being changed from 10 to 9. Gambler's Blade, yeah, all the Shimmer Scales are getting nerfed. I just know this because I saw a preview and it's very well deserved because like data-wise, it's like one of the best performing augments. So nerfing all of these or like most of them definitely is something that they should be doing. Onto the Ornn items, we have Trickster's Glass, Magic Resist, and Attack Speeds being nerfed by 5. Mana Increase being bumped up by 10%. Is this really the most troublesome one? It definitely is a good one, but I think because everyone's rerolling right now, Trickster becomes better. I think if there's less reroll, Trickster becomes a little worse. Zonia's Paradox AP is being changed from 30 to 45. That's a very sizable buff. That's a lot of AP. Holy cow. I think I want this on all my AP carries now because having like an Edge of Night effect or an invulnerability effect is very, very powerful. Small changes. They have Poppy, 4-star, Steadfast Hammer should now more consistently hit large clumps of units. Viego, small armor and MR buff. Azir, Arise damage is being buffed up just like a very, very tiny bit. Artifacts, Death Defiance, attack speed 30 to 25%. Bleed no longer gets cleansed by Edge of Night. I didn't know that happened. Zon Tooltips now states that benching a champion will remove its Zon mod. 2 healthy and 3's a crowd augments now specify that only unique champions count towards the health bonus. And then now onto the bug fixes. So fix a bug where Recombobulator could cause strongest unit calculations to behave weirdly. Fix a bug where Rek'Sai spell was scaling twice as much as intended from damage amp. Oh, was that why Rek'Sai was so good? I didn't know it was because of a bug. I wonder how often this happened. Not dead yet. Yorick's Graveyard no longer grants an item when a player triggers Last Stand or Final Reserves. Champions granted by Stars Are Born are now properly starred up in Ghost Armies. Rolling for Days Augment no longer fails to make the first reroll after a carousel for free. Shimmer Injector now correctly prevents being executed before it procs. Rek'Sai will no longer execute Taric if he is shielding her target when she tries to execute them. Thresh's Sanctum now works in Hyper Roll. Crown of Demacia can no longer be reforged in Double Up. Didn't know that was a thing. You don't bench your MVP. Crown of Demacia can no longer be used on bench units in Double Up. Zed now gets the correct bonus from Ionia at 9. Senna and Sion can now apply the burn from Morello Namicon with their abilities. Yeah, like Morello should be really good on Senna after they changed Morello last patch, but there was a bug. So if you did it, it actually was horrible because it didn't apply the burn, but now it should. Bonus health on Chem modded from Chemtech enhancement augments will now be updated immediately when a Chem mod is removed. Teemo 1-star now has the correct spell damage value. Glass Industries now correctly grants gold when you build a craftable item on a unit of the same trait. Wow, really? Okay, I didn't know it stopped that. What they also need to fix is when you build Glass Industry items on your away board or when you're on an opponent's board, and then the gold like flies to your board and you can't pick it up. Those are kind of annoying. Locked In fixed a mission that could not be completed as it required selling the T-Hex. Dedication will no longer break if you field 4 units of a trait that has no emblem. Undeserved Stardom, fixed an exploit that could allow you to have 4-star Yordle without having 3 stars actively fielded. If multiple Blacksmith's Gloves roll Trickster's Glass, they will now all clone the correct unit. Project Abyssia spamming taunt animation no longer causes a planet to disappear. Whiskers Mutant Labs purple VFX no longer persists a few seconds when scouting. Chibi Little Devil Teemo is no longer glowing white for players on very low graphic settings, and Gloop's eyes and mouth have been fixed during their taunt animation. The fix impacts these variants: Golden Custard, Shrimp, Hearty Soup, and Peachy. Wow, that is a very big patch. It isn't like the biggest ever or anything, but definitely very sizable. Tons of changes that kind of happen. So when I look at a patch, I like looking at what comps were good before, and we'll be updating the best comps on my website, bunnymuffins.lol/meta on Friday. But the Noxus comps, Swain and Samira and Scion all got hit a little bit. Swain, I think, is the biggest impact. Actually, no, maybe Samira. It's very hard to judge the Samira changes because they kind of changed 2 metrics, but I think Swain stabilized really hard and got them a lot of stacks, but I don't think the whole Samira reroll thing is going to be that great anymore. Probably regular Noxus with Darius and Katarina carry still going to be pretty solid. After that, we had Gunners getting nerfed, so yeah, Zeri got pretty sizable nerfs, same with Urgot. So is it going to be playable? Probably still going to be playable. Maybe like low A tier is my guess. Other comps that were good is like the Fast 9 comps on certain maps, but that got nerfed a little bit with like Pay to Learn. Ahri nerfs are pretty big. Bel'Veth and Scion nerfs as well, though they used all of them. So that's pretty big changes there. Heimerdinger is pretty interesting because I think you want to like diversify the turrets now. I think the healing one is very interesting now because you don't have to like constantly stack it. You still could, but you don't have to anymore. So I think overall that's a very good change. Now for some of the buffs. Azir got buffed, Shurima got buffed, all the multicasters got buffed. Are they automatically S tier? Maybe not. I think maybe Shurima might be like high A tier. Multicasters might definitely be S tier. Too Healthy got buffed as well, so you could run it with that comp. Like literally all the multicasters got like huge buffs. It has to be good now, right? Even Teemo might be good because they keep buffing it and buffing it. It's like, when is enough enough? Another thing to look out for is Ionia kind of went asleep for the past couple of patches. Maybe it's back now. Yasuo gets 500% AD scaling. So it's like Deathblade on Yasuo with Edge of Night will just do so much damage. Like even at 475, it did so much before. So it's actually not even that great of a buff percentage-wise, but it should be a little wild. Aphelios getting buffed probably makes Aphelios good too because I think Aphelios and Zeri just swap places. Before you kind of like default AD, went for Zeri, and if you couldn't hit Zeri, you go Aphelios. But now it might be the other way around. Now you go for Aphelios. If you don't hit Aphelios, just back up on Zeri, and then you should be good there. Though Urgot nerfs hurt both of those comps. The only comp that I don't know where it'll fit is maybe like the Demacia build, because we just haven't seen Demacia in so long, and it's just never been a comp yet. Maybe now 7 Demacia is a thing. I don't actually know though. It's either going to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever still. So it's pretty hard for me to judge because the whole like rating items are like very, very wild, especially if they're on like 4 different units. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What comps do you think are going to be good? What comps do you think are going to be bad? And what's your favorite and least favorite change from this patch? But again, we'll be coming out with a meta snapshot on Friday. Every single Friday. We've been doing this for like 3 years now, maybe 4, I forget. So hopefully I see you all on the website and in the next video. So that's going to be it for me. I'll see you all later.